You have almost certainly done it already today. You looked at your dog as you were leaving and decided it was feeling guilty about something. You called your cat judgmental, or dramatic, or petty. You muttered at your car when it wouldn't start, as if it were being stubborn on purpose. Maybe you apologized to a chair after bumping into it, or gave your houseplants names, or felt genuinely bad turning off a little cleaning robot while it was still working. In each of those moments, you did something quietly astonishing. You reached out and placed a tiny human being inside a creature or an object that has no such thing hiding in it. You gave it a mind, a mood, a personality, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. But this habit, this deep, automatic urge to see a little person peering out from inside everything around you, is one of the strangest and most powerful features the human mind has ever produced. So when did we start doing this? When did our ancestors first look at a wild animal and decide it had a human soul? And why is a creature that evolved to survive on the open savanna now wired to believe its vacuum cleaner has feelings? The word for this is anthropomorphism, and once you notice it, you realize it is absolutely everywhere. It is not just about animals. We say the sky is angry when it thunders. We call the sea cruel, the wind gentle, the moon lonely. We name hurricanes and then talk about what they want to do. We shout at computers as if they're being spiteful. We are, every single one of us, constantly populating a universe of dumb matter and mindless weather with intentions, emotions, and little invisible selves. And here is the truly unsettling part. You cannot switch it off. It is not a bad habit you could break with willpower. It is running underneath your thoughts, all the time, whether you want it to or not. You can prove this to yourself in seconds. Psychologists have shown people a simple animation of nothing more than two triangles and a circle sliding around a screen. Just shapes. And within moments, without being asked, almost everyone starts telling a story. The big triangle is bullying the little one. The circle is scared and hiding. They're in love. He's chasing her. People assign motives, feelings, and entire personalities to geometric shapes because their brains simply refuse to see mere movement. Your mind does not wait to confirm that something is alive, or conscious, or even real before it starts reading its intentions. It fires first and asks questions later. Even babies, long before they can speak, look at moving shapes and see one helping and another hurting. This is not something you learned. You were born doing it. You see the visual version of this everywhere too. It even has a name, pareidolia. The reason you see a face in the front of a car, a man in the moon, a screaming expression in an electrical socket, a figure in the shadows of your bedroom at night. Your brain has a face detector and a mind detector, both set to maximum sensitivity, and they will happily find eyes, a mouth, and a mood in a cloud, a piece of toast, or a crack in the ceiling. You are not imagining these faces on purpose. You are simply unable not to see them. And if you want the clearest proof that this is baked in rather than taught, just watch a small child. No one has to teach a toddler that their teddy bear has feelings, or that the moon is smiling, or that a toy left out in the rain must be sad and lonely. Children do this instantly, universally, in every culture on Earth. They comfort stuffed animals, hold funerals for dead insects, and are certain the sun is happy. Anthropomorphism isn't a quirk we pick up along the way. It is the factory setting of the human mind, there from almost the very beginning, and we spend our whole lives only ever partly growing out of it. So the real question is why? Why would evolution build a brain that sees minds where there are none, that wastes energy imagining feelings inside rocks and clouds and cars? And the answer is one of the most elegant ideas in all of cognitive science. To understand it, you have to go back and become one of your distant ancestors, walking through tall grass on the savannah 100,000 years ago. Suddenly, the bushes beside you rustle. Now, your brain has two ways to interpret that sound. Option 1, it's just the wind, nothing there. Option 2, it's a leopard, a living thing, with a mind and a plan, and that plan is to eat you. And here is the entire secret of the human mind in a single moment of choice. If you assume leopard and you're wrong, you lose nothing but a jolt of fear and a few seconds. But if you assume wind and you're wrong, you die. The cost of over-detecting a mind is almost nothing. The cost of missing a real one is everything. Scientists call this the hyperactive agency detection device. Over 1,000,000 years, generation after generation, the humans who assumed there was a someone behind every rustle, every shadow, every strange sound, survived and had children. The ones who shrugged and assumed the world was just dead matter got eaten by the minds they failed to notice. You are the descendant of the paranoid ones. You come from a line of ancestors who saw intention in every moving shadow, who felt watched in the dark, who assumed the world was crowded with hidden agents. That instinct kept them alive. And it never left. It is still firing today. Every time you hear a creak in an empty house and instantly think someone is there. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what 2,000,000 years of leopards trained it to do. Now combine that with one more thing, the other great gift of the human mind. Because we evolved to live in complex social groups, we developed an extraordinary ability to read other people, to look at a face and guess what's happening behind it, to model the invisible thoughts and feelings of others. Scientists call this theory of mind, and no animal has it anything like as powerfully as we do. It is the machinery of empathy, of politics, of love, of lies. But here's the thing about a tool that good. Once you have a brain that assumes there are minds everywhere, and a second system built for imagining exactly what those minds are feeling, you are going to point that machinery at everything. At the wolf watching from the tree line, at the storm on the horizon, at the darkness, at the dead, at the stars. You become a creature that cannot help but fill the entire world with people. So when did this actually begin? When did our ancestors first cross the line from seeing an animal as a thing into seeing it as a someone? For the oldest hard evidence, we go into a cave in what is now Germany, and we find an object that will genuinely stop you in your tracks. It's called the Lion Man. It is a small figurine carved from the ivory of a mammoth's tusk, and it is roughly 40,000 years old. That makes it the oldest known figurative sculpture ever discovered on planet Earth. And what did the very first humans to carve a statue choose to make? Not a person, not an animal. They carved a being that has never existed. A creature with the upright body of a human and the head of a cave lion. Someone, 40,000 years ago, sat in the flickering light of a fire and spent hundreds of hours patiently scraping mammoth ivory with a sharpened stone. Not to depict something they had seen, but to give physical form to something they had only imagined. A merging of human and beast, a person wearing an animal's power, or an animal wearing a human's mind. Sit with what that object means. To carve the Lion Man, that ancient artist had to be able to hold in their head an idea that does not exist in nature, and believe it was worth hundreds of hours of labor to bring it into the world. The line between human and animal, in their mind, was not a wall. It was a doorway. And they are not alone. Deep in a cave in France, on the wall of a chamber, there is a painted figure known as the Sorcerer, part human, part stag, part owl, part something else, staring out across 12,000 years, usually interpreted as a spirit, a master of the animals. Again and again, across the whole Ice Age world, our ancestors painted and carved themselves flowing into animal form. To them, animals were clearly not mindless meat. They were powers, persons, kin. And here is the thing to hold in your mind about that 40,000-year-old statue. It is not the beginning of this behavior. It is only the oldest surviving proof of it. Imagination does not fossilize. Talking to an animal, naming it, believing the fire has a temper or the dead are watching, none of that leaves a mark in the ground for archaeologists to find. By the time someone had the skill and the desire to carve an imaginary lion human from ivory, the habit of seeing minds in beasts must already have been ancient, passed down through countless generations who left no statues at all. The Lion Man is not the moment we started giving animals human souls. It is simply the moment that impulse first grew solid enough to survive the tens of thousands of years between that firelit cave and you. And this was not a strange or fringe idea.
For the overwhelming majority of human history, this was simply how people saw the world. Anthropologists have a word for it: animism, the deep and default human sense that the world is full not of objects, but of persons, most of whom happen not to be human. In that world, the river has moods and can be angry or generous. The mountain watches over the valley. The great bear is not an it, but a he, an ancestor, a grandfather with a name. Animals belonged to clans, held intentions, made bargains, took revenge. A hunter did not simply kill a deer, he entered a relationship with the spirit of the deer, apologized to it, thanked it. This was not childish confusion. It was a rich, complex, and in many ways beautiful way of living inside a world absolutely brimming with other minds.
And because animals so obviously had minds and power, it was a very short step to making them gods. Look at ancient Egypt, and the gods stare back at you with animal faces. Anubis with the head of a jackal, guiding the dead. Horus with the head of a falcon, ruling the sky. Bastet, the cat. Sobek, the crocodile. Travel to India and you find Ganesha, beloved and wise, with the head of an elephant, and Hanuman, the devoted monkey god. All over the world, in culture after culture, humans looked at animals and saw not just personalities, but something sacred, something divine, something worth worshipping. We didn't just decide animals were like us, we decided some of them were greater than us. But then something happened that flipped this whole story on its head, and it is one of the most delicious twists in all of human history. As we settled down and began living side by side with animals, domesticating them over thousands of years, our tendency to see human feelings in them exploded to new heights. And the animals, it turns out, noticed. They evolved to use it against us. Consider the dog. Look into the eyes of a dog when it wants something, and you'll see that heart-melting, sad, pleading expression. Those raised, worried inner eyebrows that make it look like a distressed human child. Now here's the astonishing fact. Wolves, the ancestors of dogs, cannot make that face. They physically lack the muscle for it. But over tens of thousands of years of living with us, dogs evolved a brand new facial muscle. One whose only job is to raise the inner eyebrows and produce that irresistible, human-like look of longing. Think about what that means. Dogs did not just wander into our lives. They evolved, over thousands of generations, to hijack the human instinct for anthropomorphism, to press the exact button in our brains that makes us see a suffering little person and rush to help it. Your dog's pleading face is, quite literally, an evolutionary con. And it worked so spectacularly well that these former wolves now sleep in our beds and have conquered the entire planet. Now, you might be feeling a little defensive right about now, thinking, but my dog genuinely does feel guilty when it's been bad. It's a completely fair objection, and the science here is genuinely fascinating. Researchers ran the experiment. They found that the famous guilty look, the lowered head, the averted eyes, the flattened ears, appears just as strongly in dogs that did absolutely nothing wrong as in dogs that did. What actually triggers the look isn't the dog's crime, it's your body language. It's your angry tone. The guilty look is not guilt at all. It's an ancient appeasement signal, a way of saying, please don't hurt me, calm down. And this is the crucial, careful truth at the heart of this whole story. Animals absolutely do have real emotions. They feel fear, they feel joy, they feel something very much like grief. But the specific, intricate human personality we lay over them, the pettiness, the spite, the guilt, the sense of humor, the plotting, so much of that is not them. It is us, tenderly and relentlessly painting our own face onto theirs. And we have never, ever stopped doing it. The moment humans learned to tell stories, the animals in those stories began to talk. Aesop's clever foxes and foolish crows, teaching us lessons in perfect human speech. Every myth, every fable, every fairy tale, stuffed with animals who scheme and love and betray, exactly like people. And it did not fade with science and reason, it exploded. We built entire empires of it. A cartoon mouse in red shorts became one of the most recognized figures on Earth. We throw birthday parties for our pets, buy them clothes, speak for them in silly voices, and mourn them like family, because to us, that is exactly what they are. The ancient anthropomorphic engine didn't die, it just moved onto the page and then onto the screen. Which brings us to the strangest and most profound realization of all. Because this glitch, this bug in the human mind that makes us see people where there are none, may actually be one of the most important things about us. Think about where else that exact same machinery leads. The instinct to sense a hidden mind behind the thunder and the harvest and the plague is very likely a root of religion itself, of gods with human jealousies and human love. The instinct to imagine rich inner lives inside beings who are not us is the entire engine of storytelling, of every character you have ever cared about in a book or a film. And most importantly of all, the ability to look at another creature and vividly imagine what it is feeling, to place a mind inside a body that is not your own, is the very definition of empathy. The same overactive mind detector that once made your ancestors see a leopard in an empty bush is the thing that lets you love a dog, weep over a novel, feel the suffering of a stranger on the other side of the world, and care.